Hello, and welcome to the Resilient Lineage podcast, where we reflect on the past, anticipate the future, and discover what God is up to today. My name is Olivia.
And I'm Milo.
And today is a fun episode.
This is an episode that I have been thinking about for a while, because we have with us a guest, and we don't do guests very often.
No.
But when we do, it's because there's been some sort of connection to our family or to our time in the Navy.
Or ministry.
Or whatever the case may be. And so, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great privilege and honor that we welcome to the podcast Jonathan Mogion. Welcome, brother.
Guys, it's so good to be here with both of you, and I look forward to it. Look forward to sharing how God's been working in my life, and hopefully add value to whoever listens to this.
So we're doing this in November, and we are
What's
doing this.
What's significant about November?
Okay, so I'm super motivated today because
I like it.
We are celebrating some birthdays this month. So first birthday we're celebrating this month is Olivia's birthday. Olivia's going to be turning 20, so her birthday is November 9th. So we're super excited about that. And then we are celebrating November 10th. We are celebrating 250 years of the greatest Marine Corps the world has ever seen, ladies and gentlemen, the United States Marine Corps.
That's right. Hoorah.
Hoorah, Devil Dog. Happy birthday. It's right around the corner. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, the Marine Corps celebrates its birthday on November 10th because it was on November 10th that the Continental Marines were stood up by the Second Continental Congress in Philadelphia.
Yes.
At a little tavern known as Tun Tavern, which, if you go to Philadelphia, no longer exists.
Oh.
I was really surprised to find that. Like, your mom and I were recently in Philly. And I was like, oh, we're going to find Tun Tavern. And so I looked it up and I was like, oh, there's a placard where they think the location was. Have you been there, Jonathan?
No, I've never been. No.
There's a placard that says, like, we think on this location is where Tun Tavern was. And they're actually in the process of raising money to build a new Tun Tavern in Philadelphia right now, which I think would be super cool. Have you seen any of that information?
No, I recently, my son plays baseball. And his dad is from Philly, and they were talking about that. I forget the name, but they're talking about remodeling and just so it's definitely came across my ears before, for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be super cool when that starts up. Particularly, and we're going to talk about this in a bit. But there's a ministry called Tun Tavern Fellowship, which is like a Christian fellowship. And we're going to get into that here in just a bit. So, okay, November. So Olivia's birthday is November 9th.
Marine Corps birthday, November 10th.
Marine Corps birthday, November 10th. Chaplain Corps birthday, November 28th.
Yes.
1775. So 18 days after the Marine Corps was established, the Continental Congress adopted the second article of Navy regulations that mandated religious services be held aboard ships. And the implication was, if you're holding religious services, that there would be ministers that would come and provide those services or provide chaplain service to the ships. And I could go down that rabbit hole really, really quick, but I'm not going to, because this is not a podcast on the Marine Corps birthday or the Chaplain Corps birthday. The question some folks may go like, okay, well, so what's all the connection here? Well, so Jonathan is a Marine, and we met when I went through the chaplain schoolhouse. So he was practically the first gunnery sergeant I had the chance to get to know. And set the bar of what should be expected of a gunnery sergeant. Now, with all that said, let's kind of go through some bio. I'm going to go through family bio and then military bio, Jonathan. And I'm going to have you share your military history. I've got it here in front of me. You sent us that information. You're married to Heather. You guys have been married 18 years. Congratulations. That's not a small thing, especially for a military family. So good job on that. And then you got two kids. Amelia's 10 and Abel is 7. So great ages for those kids in your guys' life. You're now retired out of the Marine Corps. In fact, you've been retired just a year now, right?
Yeah, just over a year.
Just a little over a year. So congratulations on that. Retired after 20 years of service. So rewind the clock back. It's 2004, September, would you say September 19th, 2004.
That's right. Yes.
And you get off that bus and you stand in those yellow footsteps.
Yeah.
Walk us through that journey, man. Like what has the path been like for you in the military?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for wave tops, right?
Right. I'd say it's definitely been an experience of ups and downs, just like life. And definitely it's been a blessing for me and my family as far as provision. But there's also things that you experience in the Marine Corps and just being in the military in general, that's hard. And it really ties into what your podcast, being resilient. How do you overcome those moments of hardship? So I really, growing up, my mom, she worked very hard, absent father. He left us when we were 2. So I really wanted to, after growing up, really wanted to challenge myself. That's why I joined the Marine Corps. And I wanted to be the best of the best and joined the Marine Corps, had my first deployment in 2006. And that's when the Iraq War was going on. And I enlisted as an automotive mechanic. But when I was deployed, they had asked for volunteers to be a military policeman. So I was served outside of my MOS, my military occupational specialty, and I was doing military policeman work, convoy security, EOD security. So we were outside the wire a lot, and then after that, then I came back from my first deployment, then went to serve on DI duty. So I was a young 21-year-old sergeant, and the sergeant major, when I was working as the commanding officer, the regimental commander's driver, he's like, "Hey, you need to go be a DI." And I was really contemplating on going back on my second deployment because they asked me to go be on a military transition team for my second deployment. But Sergeant Major Cassiotti, man, just a great example for me. And he was like, really, hey, it's a good time for you to go be a drill instructor. Like, take a break. You don't need to go back on deployment, because I just got back. 6 months, I would have gone out the door 6 months later. So I went to go be a drill instructor down in MCRD San Diego.
Which is where you came through, right?
No. So
okay, initially so you came through Parris Island.
Correct. Yeah. So I joined the Marine Corps in 2004 and shipped out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Mm. Yes.
Oh, that's right. Because you grew up down in Florida.
Right.
Go through Parris Island. And then you end up a DI in San Diego.
Correct. Yeah. So I became born a Marine in Parris Island. I went to go train Marines in San Diego from 2008 to 2011. And ended up doing 9 recruit training cycles. So I had, five cycles as a green belt drill instructor, and then 2 cycles as they call it a senior drill instructor, and then 2 cycles as a chief drill instructor.
Now, up to this point, as I looked over the bio you sent us, and I was going through this, it appears that you ranked up pretty quick.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes, and not to boast, right? That's not who I am, but that was definitely a God thing, and I wanted to be part of the best, and that's why I joined the Marine Corps. But I just wanted to prove others, like, hey, look, I got what it takes. I wanted to build a name for myself. So I moved up. I got meritorious promoted on the drill field, which is a goal that I wanted to accomplish. And I remember when I was a young Lance Corporal, I was reading an article in the newspaper, and I think it was like Marine Times or something. And I saw that a staff sergeant had a goal. It's like, hey, my goal was to get he was a sergeant getting promoted to staff sergeant. He had made a goal for himself to get promoted to staff sergeant in 6 years. So when I saw that, I was like, hey, that's my goal. I'm going to do that. I'm going to get promoted in staff sergeant in 6 years. And the drill instructor duty allowed me to do that, to get meritorious promoted.
So after DI school, where'd you go?
After DI school, I got orders to 22nd, what was it? The 22nd MEU. So I got orders to CLB 22, Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and got stationed there in 2011.
How'd you enjoy that MEU? Well, and maybe explain what a MEU is for those that don't know.
Yeah, a MEU is a Marine Expeditionary Unit where the Marine Corps just deploys a force in readiness just to respond to a nation's crisis any moment. It's so much firepower in it. It consists of 3 ships, but there's more than that. I mean, there's destroyers that go out to clear the routes before we go out. But you have 3 types of ships. You have an LHD, which is like the mothership that has all the command deck. And then you have the LHD, which is the medium platform. Then you have the LSD, which is a smaller platform. I was on the LPD on that deployment.
Got it.
Yeah, and I got to serve as the humanitarian assistant staff in COIC for that as a staff sergeant. And our mass sergeant at the time was supposed to deploy with us, and unfortunately, his daughter got very sick, so he ended up staying back, which was great. I was very thankful to see that, like the Marine Corps actually kept him back so he can take care of his family, which is not common.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm glad that he was able to stay back, and then that's where I stepped up to fill into his role as an E6, filling in as in an E8 role.
So then from there, after that deployment, you come back, get to pick a new set of orders, right? Am I following the timeline?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So, so during deployment, I was in this, I deployed in 2014, got there in 2011. We deployed in 2014. So I already had been a staff sergeant for about 3+ years now. And I was getting close to picking up gunnery sergeant. So, and I was working very hard. I was serving in an EA billet, and my performance was good. And my reporting senior, the person who was writing my fitness report, had done an accelerated fitness report for me, meaning that it allowed me to compete for gunnery sergeant earlier. It put me in the below zone instead of being in zone to give me an opportunity to compete. And that was a God thing for sure. So that made me eligible for E7. I didn't know if I was going to get it or not. It was definitely a long shot. But so in that, I had felt led to go apply for AMOI duty, which is Assistant Marine Officer Instructor. And if you're a DI and you had a successful tour, you could go do that. And initially I had picked that, they give you a list of availability and choices. And I had picked like 3 different schools, like University of Miami, Charlottesville, Virginia, and I forget the other one. I think it was the Citadel down in Charleston. And
at the universities, that would be like in a ROTC capacity, right?
Correct. Yeah, I would assist the MOI, the Marine Officer Instructor, and I'd be the Assistant Marine Officer Instructor, just helping the ROTC program.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you think you're going to end up the cush life, being at a ROTC unit at a university.
Yeah.
Dealing with all these college knuckleheads.
Right. Yeah.
And then something else pops up.
That's right. Yeah. And, and I was, and this is how just God's hand is in everything. Because when I had applied for AMOI duty, I knew that I had an accelerated fitness report. That's what they call it. And so that is what allowed me to get to go be at the chaplain school. The chaplain school wasn't even on the list for as in a selection to go to AMOI duty. I didn't even know that was even a thing. So next thing you know, I get selected to gunnery sergeant. The message comes out. I get selected out of the below zone, and then the AMOI message comes out for all the selectees and what school they went to. And I look at my name and I'm hoping, man, did I get selected? And next to my name says Navy Chaplain School and Center, Columbia, South Carolina, Fort Jackson. I'm like, what the heck? What is this? And, but God was up to something. And there's no way that I could have filled that billet if I didn't get selected to gunner sergeant, because it was an E7 billet.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah, it's always, I think it's interesting. We're going to get into the faith piece of all this here in just a second, because I think it's, in all of our stories, when we look back, we can see these sort of intersections where something happens that we choose a path, or we're set on a path that wouldn't have been one of our own creation, or the outcomes that come from that wouldn't have been anything we could have personally anticipated. Right. And for context, for folks, is like when you're AMOI and you're looking at these universities, like you listed off 4 schools, right? And that, like, all of these universities have that type of type of role that are there. But there's only one position within the Navy at the chaplain schoolhouse, and the United States Navy chaplains serve the Marine Corps as well as the Coast Guard and the Merchant Marines. And so, like, this is, you're one of one in the entire Marine Corps and within the, it's a very, very, like, pointed opportunity. Well, that's the question. Did you see it as an opportunity? Honestly, because I know some people, like, I know some Marines, candidly, and I love these guys to death. They would have looked at that and thought, oh, somebody's trying to tank my career. Like, sometimes obscurity is an opportunity. Sometimes people view obscurity as, it's something that is so obscure that it's you find yourself explaining all the time what it is you do. Do you know what I mean? So for you, when you saw that, did you view that as an opportunity or not?
I did view it as an opportunity to come back from deployment I get to go to Columbia, South Carolina. I'm still on the East Coast, closer to my family in Florida. So I was excited.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So we're going to double back to the chaplain schoolhouse piece here in a bit. You leave the chaplain schoolhouse, and then you have one more tour after that, or 2 more before you retire?
No, I have 2 more tours after that. Yes. Okay. So after chaplain school, I get selected to first sergeant. So during chaplain school, on my last year there, on the way out, I got selected to first sergeant. So, and then I got orders to Parris Island, South Carolina, to go be a company first sergeant for the recruit training battalion, first recruit training battalion. And that was my first, I did 6 cycles there, and then went over to 3rd Battalion Lima Company to go serve my remaining time there.
Okay. So I came across this story earlier this week, and I thought, and this was after I sent you the notes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anytime for our listeners, anytime we do a podcast like this, one of the things we'll do is we'll just sort of
map out.
Yeah, we'll map out where the conversation is going to go. So there's not any surprises or gotchas. But we also want this to be a conversation. We don't want this to be like super canned thing. But so I came across this story, this guy was giving this talk, and he said his name, the guy who shared the story is Rory Vaden, is his name. And he was talking about how in Colorado, out on the plains, you'll see cows and buffaloes. And when a tornado comes through that area, but like a storm, like a really dark storm, this is big sky country. If you've ever been out in that area, it's beautiful. And when these storms come, the cows run for the hills, like they run away from the storms. But the buffalo run towards it. And he shared about how, there's two types of people, those that run to the storms and those that run away. And the irony is that those that run away and are afraid of what the storm brings are constantly running away. Because you can't, the storm will eventually catch up with you. And when it does, now you're exhausted. But then there are the buffalo that run to the storm. They actually navigate the obstacle faster because they didn't delay it, and they have the strength to deal with it.
That's awesome.
Isn't that interesting?
That is cool.
And I mean, and when you think about it, when you look at a buffalo and a cow, like if you were to say, like, what kind of person do you want to be? I think most people are going to pick the buffalo, right? It just looks tough.
Yeah.
Right? It looks like it can withstand a lot. It looks like it can, weather a tremendous amount of adversity. So, and when I heard that story and knowing we were doing this episode and, you had sent your bio and I had already sent you some questions, I thought, Jonathan's a buffalo, man. Like, he's the kind of guy that runs to the storm. Like, you're not seeking it out, I don't think. But if you see it on the horizon, your response is not to run away from it. It's like, well, if this is in my path, this is my perception of you. If this is in my path, then I might as well deal with it head on. And if there's lesson to be learned, great. If there's things that can be improved, awesome. I'm going to dive into this. And here's why I share that. There's two things that come to mind. So I'm in chaplain school.
In South Carolina.
This is at the time. So the chaplain schoolhouse is now up in Newport, Rhode Island. But at the time, it was down in South Carolina because that's where the Army schoolhouse was. And when we were combining a lot of bases, the idea was, well, why don't we put in proximity the Air Force chaplain schoolhouse and the Navy chaplain schoolhouse down with the Army, and we'll have this joint effort so that they can collaborate and coordinate on a bunch of things. Which, when I was there, we never did any of that collaboration. So since then, we've moved the chaplain schoolhouse back up to Newport, Rhode Island, which is where it had been. So that's when I meet Gunny. Like, that's like, he's Gunny in my mind. Okay. So while we're there, we're doing, like, we did a pier tour up in Norfolk where we went to the USS Wasp. We, got a tour of some of the subs. We went down to Parris Island where we saw how Marines were made, and, went through that whole process. And during, so this is a story I heard, because I was there. The story is that at some point in the morning, because we got there really early in the morning for graduation, the ensign was being flown. And it came off the, do you remember this?
Yes, I do remember.
Now, we're all in our khakis. He's in his Charlies.
Right.
And the flag is coming loose of the rope.
Yes.
And this man, like, bolts to capture the flag so it doesn't hit the ground. Right? I mean, and I'm not talking like a full-on sprint to address this. Well, listen, from us chaplains that were watching, it was a full-on sprint, right? And you went there and you were helped retrieve it. And my point is this: a lot of people would have watched that happen, right? Just because they, what is the appropriate response in this moment? Whose problem is this? It's, you're not part of the command at that time. We're there as guests. We're there as observers. Right. And it was very much one of those this is not a moment to assess whose problem it is. It's a problem, and I'm in proximity so I can solve that problem. So that's when I read this story, I thought, okay, that story came to mind. And then the second story that came to mind was, so during chaplain school, there's 3 weeks of classroom training, 2 weeks of field training where Gunny actually first sergeant owned a
No,
ton.
you're good. Don't worry about it.
Owned a ton of that part of the training because it's a lot of classroom time of like, how do you do land navigation? How do you do it during the day, at night? How do you set up, basically if you had to go into the fields with the Marines, how can you be prepared to be able to handle that kind of environment and operate and serve well within that environment instead of being an obstacle or somebody that's in the way? So this is like up at the crack of dawn and we're doing stuff until, 9, 10 o'clock at night. And he's out there the whole time with us. And I remember distinctly, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. This is my memory anyway. We're working on some stuff. Your instruction duties for the day have been completed, but you're still out there with us. And I look over and you've got books out and you're like writing stuff down. And you intimidated me pretty severely at the time. So I looked at somebody, I was like, what's Gunny doing? And they're like, bro, he's doing homework. He's in college right now. And the guy is out here doing homework in the middle of all of this so he can stay up on his classes. Isn't that super cool? Mm-hmm. And like, it was those handful of things that I thought, this is a different kind of caliber person. So I graduate from the chaplain schoolhouse, which is the last time I saw you. Our class gave you, it's my understanding, it's your most prized possession from your time at the chaplain schoolhouse, which was the ammo box of Skittles.
Oh, I got it. It's actually...
So I made that. I spray painted that for our class and all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Oh, I got it.
See?
I got it. Yes. Yes. I remember, and I ate that whole bag like in less than 24 hours.
Okay. So that's the last time I saw you until 2 years ago.
Right.
I'm walking. Your mom and I have a chance to go to this marriage enrichment retreat. We're at in Asheville, Asheville, North Carolina, at the Cove, which is part of the Billy Graham Association. So it's like a Christian marriage enrichment retreat. Great experience. We had shown up late because we got stuck in traffic trying to get there, and so we barely made it in time for the first session. Like we didn't even get our luggage out. It was just like, just get inside so we can be there for the first session. So we go through the first session. And we're walking out through the lobby of this beautiful lodge. And I hear, Milo, is that you? And I turn around and I go, and I see Jonathan, to which my response is, Gunny? And part of me like felt like I needed to snap to it or something like that and make sure that my gig line was straight. And it was funny, this sort of like internal response I had. Anyway, it was a great time because we had the chance to sit down with you and Heather for a meal while we were there and catch up a little bit. And actually, that's in a lot of reasons why we're even sitting down today. Because of that little interaction, it led to a variety of additional conversations, one of which was my impression, and this is where I want to get into the faith piece of all of this. My impression while we were at the schoolhouse was that you were a person who was exploring faith, and maybe I'm wrong on this. Maybe I'm wrong on the timeline, but this would have been in the fall of 2015. My impression was like you were either somebody brand new in the faith or somebody who hadn't taken that step yet to follow Christ. And then it was like a year or 2 years later, I start seeing these posts on Facebook that are very declarative about somebody who's turned their life over to Jesus. And I was like, man, what happened? I want to know that story. So that's where I kind of want, that's really the reason why I wanted to sit down today with you, and is to kind of talk about like, man, here's this young man who grew up without a father, who had a hardworking mother, who has this ethos towards life that I want to live. I want to prove people I'm worth the invest. Maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but like there's this ethos that like
determination.
Yeah, determination, grit, resilience, in the context of what we oftentimes talk about. So like Walk us through that, through all of these years, like what up to the point you give your life to Christ. What's that journey? What was that journey like? How did God capture your heart in these different places? Who were those people that developed your faith?
Yeah. I think I look at the chart like a stock market chart, the ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's how life is, right? And I think that's how how my walk has been with Christ. And growing up, I grew up Catholic, and it was just, hey, we're going to church. My mom would take us to church, but and then I worked young when I was 13 years old. Then I had this powerful man, John Ponsang, and he served as one of the deacons at the church, or he was one of the ushers or something like that. He was the usher. And he would he got me involved with the church, and I got my confirmation and as a Catholic. But what I found was it was more of religion than a relationship. And I didn't really have that deep intimacy relationship with God. And I've made mistakes in life, in my relationship with Heather. But God always found a way. He found a way to connect back with me and made it very clear. And the catalyst moment for that was chaplain school. And that was the moment where I was sitting. It was like my second class that I got. I forget which class it was. It was like my second one. And I was in my living room. I just had my first child, and I was like, man, I need to straighten my act up. Like, I got a kid now, and one thing that I did very well, and a lot of people can really relate to this as they hear this, is that we do a good job of faking it. Like faking it until we make it. Like we got to put this facade on that everything is good, that look, I got to show up every day like I got it all together. And I did a really good job at that. And for those of you who are listening to this, I'm very certain that you're doing that right now. But
that's exhausting too.
Yeah. I mean, you're living this double life, and then you're this certain way when you're at work, but when you go home, who are you? What are you doing when the doors are closed? Mm-hmm. Right? Like, and that's what you do in the quiet is where you really grow, right? Or you really fall, right? And that's why, like, when I'm drawing near to God, I'm not doing it out in the open. I will give him the glory when I'm giving him praise for what he's done in my life. But really, the deep intimacy is when the doors are closed and it's just me and him, and he's really speaking truth to me. So I know I kind of just bounced around a little bit, but I'm sitting in my living room, and I got Chaplain Eric Hammond. He's my first BLC instructor, and he's like just scattering seeds, and the seeds are hitting rocky soil, bouncing off, and you know the Bible verse that talks about like.
Do you know who he's talking about? Mm-mm. So I reintroduced you to him at Nate Rice's promotion ceremony.
Oh.
Yeah, because he's one of the pastors at that church now.
Oh,
at River
yeah.
Oak.
Yeah.
Wow. Cool.
Yeah. Eric and I have had a chance to reconnect a handful of times. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Man, what a great man. And but anyway, we would just listen to.
Wait, can I ask you a question real quick? When you say he was scattering seeds, like what were those? How did he do that? And what was the experience of that?
Yeah, he was just saying like we played podcasts of. I remember he used to listen to this guy, his Irish guy, like he was a Catholic priest, I think, but in Ireland. But we would just listen to that on our drives to Norfolk and to Paris Island. And he was real. Like he would tell me like he liked to play video games, like, and I was like, man, this guy's and it just started really opening my eyes. And just to be more curious. Right. And I felt like this desire to be better, right? Like since I had my daughter was born in October of 2015. So I really had this strong desire to do better, to be better, right? I got to straighten up my act. Like, hey, I got a kid now, right? I need to keep my family together, which I don't know what that looks like because growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have that example. Hey, what is a godly man look like? I had John Ponce saying, but I wasn't with him all the time, right? So these men, God had just put men in my life to really to disciple me, to love on me. So I'm sitting in my living room. You want me to finish? You want me to?
Yeah, keep going.
All right. So I'm sitting in my living room and I'm reading the course feedback, like of, the course is getting ready to wrap up. And then my wife went out of town somewhere and I was alone in my living room. And I just feel, and I'm playing music in the background. And we got connected with the church called Grace Life over there. And so I'm playing some worship music in the back. And, and then I just feel just overwhelming presence, just heaviness in my heart, like in my chest, not like an anxiety, but just like a gratitude. Like it's hard to explain, but it was definitely something divine. And that was my conversion moment where I felt like, man, and I was like really reflected, like, why would God use somebody like me to impact people like of this caliber, right? I mean, we're not just talking, we all fall short. Nobody's perfect, right? But like, I'm dealing with like chaplains. Like, I'm not like, why would God put somebody like me to influence chaplains?
There's an interesting line in church history by a guy by the name of John Wesley. Are you familiar with John Wesley at all?
No.
So John and Charles Wesley were these two young brothers. This was back in the 1700s. Their father was an Anglican minister, Church of England, and they both went to Oxford. Ended up with like a passionate desire to pursue God and live a holy life, like the scriptures call us to holiness. So what does that mean? What does that look like? And so they had these what they call them holy clubs. And initially it was a little bit derogatory, and they began to develop like intentional ways to read the scriptures and to pray and to manage your money and to manage your time and a wide variety of things. And there was such a consistent method to everything that they did that people derogatorily called them Methodists. And so they were part of this thing called the Methodist movement in England, which then ended up becoming the Methodist Church, right? So in the midst of all of that, John Wesley, who was raised in the church, he had gone to seminary at Oxford. He had been a missionary for a little while in Georgia. He was brought over there by James D. Oglethorpe to help stand up the church and some ministry stuff there, but it didn't work out well, and his ministry was very much roundly kind of rejected by the way he was treated. And so he comes back to England. He's not even sure he's called back into ministry. He goes into the woods, the Aldergate Woods, and he journals in that place that's when he came to full surrender to Jesus Christ. And he has this line where he says, "And that was where my heart was strangely warmed."
Right, that's it, right?
That's a
good way to put it. That's what happened. It was, and I've encountered that multiple times, like in the valleys, right? Like, and the Bible says that the righteous will fall 7 times, but they'll get back up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and that's the moment, like God will just, that's how you know he's the good shepherd. He'll leave the 99 to go back for the one.
Yeah.
So how do you know that wasn't just in that moment that if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that moment is the moment you gave your life to Christ?
No, that was not. But that was my moment to realize, like, okay, this is something.
Something needs to change.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm all in. Like, and then as time goes on, just then we got Chaplain Robert Peters. He's in there. He's discipling me. He's going through the Word with me. And then in 2016, about a year later, he baptizes me.
Mm.
He baptizes me in our friend's pool that's part of Grace Life Church. And it was just between him, Chaplain Leroy Young, and Chaplain Robert Peters, just being the light, and then just really poured into me. And then I was like, I'm ready. Like I was like, I want to give my life to Christ. And then I got baptized. But I didn't know what salvation was like in that moment. If I would have just like, if I'd known at the time what salvation was, and I felt that moment, I would have been like, Lord, yes, Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I believe that you were raised from the dead, and I commit my life to you. If I would have, and I believe that he died on the cross, like if I would have known that at that moment, I would have done it. But I didn't know what salvation was.
But I think that's an interesting. So one of the things I believe is that God, in some measure, God saves us or does a work within us despite our ignorance. Do you know what I mean? Like, and in some regards, you're a father, I'm a father. You're not a parent yet.
No.
But I think there's a part of that where you see it with our kids. Like, I'm going to love my kids and I'm going to do things for them even if they don't understand the measure or the extent to which things are being reoriented for them to know my love or be provided for in a certain way, right? Like, in no way does their capacity to understand what I'm doing limit my faithfulness to them. And I think that's our experience with God. Like, God is not waiting for us to fully grasp the merits of the theology of substitutionary atonement in order for us to experience redemption.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's going like, are you going to trust me or not?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, is that all this is? It's like, yeah, just with everything, but trust me. Well, are you going to trust me? So it sounds like that moment in 2015 is sort of like, you're like, I like to think in the terms of like the shallow end of the pool and the deep end of the pool. But like, if you're in the shallow end of the pool, you're in the pool, man. Like, I'm just glad you're in the pool. So it's like in 2015, you're like, I'm in the pool. I don't know where this is going,
but I'm committed.
But I'm gonna start making my way to where then a year later you end up getting baptized, right?
Right.
So, okay. What?
No, yeah. So like now that you're like retired, you have another kid. Like, how's God moving now? Being like working in like civilian life, and your role as a parent and what you're currently doing.
Yeah. So God has just been continuing to work in my life, and I've had some ups and downs right before I had got out, and but God has just weighed on my heart now to serve Him, right? And God, how can I how do I become less so you can become more? And it's not always easy because my flesh, my inside wants like to not spend as much time with God, right? I at times I get distracted, but then I get corrected. It's like, hey, no, like, you're here to serve me. And so I have recently connected with Ton Tavern Fellowship, which is another God thing. And I met them for the first time through chaplain school. Lieutenant Colonel retired Mike West and retired Sergeant Major Mark Bird, they came down for Chaplain Cobble's promotion. And that's another gentleman that would pour into me as well. and I'm going to tie this all in to answer your question. But Mark Bird, he found out, hey, there's a gunny here. So I'm in my office, and he's retired Sergeant Major, and he's one of the network missionaries with Ton Tavern Fellowship. comes find me in my corner off. I don't know if you remember, chaps, but my office was like in the back corner. So he comes, finds me, and then he just starts to talk with me, and then he prays for me. And this is before I gave my life to Christ, right? These are just the people that I mentioned that God just puts in my life to just encourage me, right? And so for those who are listening, keep that in mind, as God will place people in your life to try to redirect you, to encourage you, to uplift you. And because he's always on the move, even in the waiting, even in the silence, he is moving. But yeah, so now I'm connected with Ton Tavern Fellowship. I was connected while I was in uniform and facilitated Bible studies like in my unit. And I would also attend other Bible studies that they had. And they asked me to help start a new Bible study in Stone Bay, which is just in Camp Lejeune. So we just started out about 6 weeks ago, about 8 weeks ago now. And so, I mean, we started with 4, but the last session we had, there's 9 now. And the hope in that is that would continue to grow, and then we would break off and start discipling no more than 4 people and just start discipling people, right? That's what the Great Commission is, to go make disciples. And so God is using me in that way. And also I had the opportunity to go to Ecuador on mission.
Okay.
And to go spread the gospel there. And that ministry I'm partnered with is Raise and Release Ministries, where they raise up leaders to equip them to go to raise leaders and spread the gospel. So I just recently got back. Well, it's been about March of last year. This would be my second time in Ecuador, where we went to first time going into the Amazon jungle, 90 miles into the jungle from the last outskirts of like regular population into the Amazon, and to go spread the good news and equip the leaders over there to empower them to share their testimony, because there's people that have been saved there already. And yeah, so that's how God is using me now, and to also be more present with my family and to grow in my faith, and to be a better husband, father, servant.
You know, the title of this podcast is Resilient Lineage. And my parents were raised, my mom was raised going to church a little bit, kind of fell off due to some family tragedy and things when she was around, late elementary, early junior high. Dad was raised on nominal Catholic, kind of didn't really do anything with it once he left the house. He joined the Navy when he was 19 years old. They came to know Christ later in life, but like in their mid-20s. Late 20s, now that I think about it. So I benefit from, and when they came to Christ, it was like a no joke thing. It wasn't coming to Christ means we go to church on Sundays when we're not busy with other stuff. It wasn't that. It was Christ has everything. Like, we are surrendered to a life in pursuit of him. And that is, the guy joining to church is a part of that, but being in his word daily, praying, living a generous life, stewarding our resources, loving our neighbors well. Like, it was like God did a work deep within them. And I think the greatest gift that I would say to any parent that they can give their kids is live an authentic faith. I think everybody is living an authentic faith. The question is whether or not that it's a faith that's worth living. Right. Yes. I was blessed by having 2 parents that like deeply loved the Lord. And so because I saw that modeled, that's what, Bethany and I have tried to do in our home with our kids and with those that we have a chance to impact and love and serve well. In many regards, you're kind of that first generation, right? Of like, okay, we're going to live we're going to figure this out. What does it look like to live in pursuit of Christ? In light of that, what are you hoping for? What are the values you guys are establishing as a family? What are the patterns? What are the habits?
The obstacles.
What are the obstacles you're coming across as you live out these things that you're learning to navigate, you're learning to kind of figure out?
Yeah. Heather and I, we were just this morning, we did a devotion together, and it's been a long time since we've done that, right? And I'd like for us to do it more, but I was like, we need a pause. And I told her, like, we need to first seek God first, and also together, because I feel like the life's busyness, like she's just started her recent business in short-term rentals, and I'm building my business in real estate. And a lot of those times, and we're also parents too, and we're involved in the community. And that can be overwhelming. It can take us off track, and we're not perfect. I'm still figuring it out. And I think I'm always going to be figuring it out. But I really felt called this. Actually, my wife is the one who initiated it this morning, right? Like, she's like, I asked her this morning that you want to do a devotion, and she's not a morning person, but as I was making breakfast and stuff, she's like, "Hey, do you want to? I'm ready now." So I was like, so then we sat down for a good 30, and we hadn't did that in a long time. So we have our ebbs and flows in that, but I would say that's the biggest challenge, is being consistent. And what I felt God had put on our heart is, hey, how do we be good stewards of our time and our resources? And with that, because we want to have our house a place of community, right? And we just talked about that this morning, inviting people over and establishing community. How can we be a light? How can people know Jesus through our interactions with them? How can our story, even the bad, the good, right? How can that give glory to God? And, but I would say that's the biggest challenge, is consistency, and living and being a good example for our kids. And a lot of times, Heather and I, we are not the best example, because we have our moments where we're not the best, like when we're tired, and I may speak louder at my kids. They say, "Dad, stop it." I was like, "I'm not yelling."
I'm not yelling, said the drill instructor.
And then Heather's like, "John, you're yelling," and she does a good job of like. But she's very good at keeping me regulated, and but the Holy Spirit that's number one. But she reminds me, and Heather and I are very type A, like we're very driven, entrepreneurial spirit. So we had a good recalibration today of, we need to be that example for our kids. And she told me, when I was gone last weekend, I was out doing the Marine Corps marathon, and she said she had got the kids together and did a devotion with them, which was awesome. I was like, "Awesome, babe. Good. We need to continue that." And so I would say that is definitely a challenge. It's just all the noise of life, right, get in our way of having a deep, intimate relationship with God. Because I told her, I was thinking of the Bible verse of, I don't know the number, but it says, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." God, we put him first, and we put our marriage second, and then they'll bleed down to everything else. Like, the kids are going to be okay, and we just walk in faith, not by sight. And it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, right? But so that was a good recalibration for us this morning. Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had, I don't know if either of you have had this experience where maybe you've had a quiet time with the Lord, or like you had something that, like, the Lord used to fill your cup. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it was a sermon you listened to, a podcast or something, or music or a song, or just a quiet time with the Lord, or devotions. And man, it's like your cup is full. And like consistently what I find is when the Lord does that, it's like, get ready to get poured out. Do you know what I mean? Like he doesn't just fill it.
Oh man.
Just to fill it.
Yeah. For decor purposes, right? This is not for the Instagram likes. Like he fills for a purpose. And this last week I've been, I'm in my private time with the Lord. My rhythm right now is I leave the house early because I don't like sitting in traffic. So I leave to get ahead of the traffic, which means I get to my office about 6:30 in the morning. And so from so I listen to a little devotional on my way in, and then for like 15 minutes, and then like worship music for another half hour. And then when I get into my office, I sit down and I read the word, and then I journal my prayers.
Oh, that sounds good.
And there's this guy I ran into recently, and I had been told he was a really strong believer, but our paths hadn't really crossed to be able to sort of have any sort of meaningful conversation. And a week and a half ago, our paths crossed, and I made a remark, and it led to another conversation. Anyway, there's this friendship that's starting to get developed. And this last Thursday, I had I listened to the podcast, I listened to my worship music, I sat down, I read the word, and I did my prayers, and then I just texted him. I'm like, hey, you want to share a cup of coffee? He's like, I'll be there in a sec. And so like 7:00 in the morning, he comes into my office, and we just sat, and the conversation we had for the next 45 minutes was just good. Do you know what I mean? Like when you're having a conversation with a brother that or a sister that it like encourages your heart. Like you're like, all right, I'm ready to run to the storm. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, I walked into that day with a resolve, and then the day was crazy. And it was like, the Lord was just, it was pouring, like practicing patience and practicing restraint and listening to, the Spirit's leading. So I know how to respond to different situations. When do I speak? When do I listen? How do I ask investigative questions? Like just all of those kind of things. My point is, like, I think sometimes the temptation is to try to treat our walk with God like it's some sort of formulaic spiritual discipline, that if I get this dialed in just right, then I'm good. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not living with that daily, what you guys talk about, trust in the Lord with all you, no, not that you didn't say trust, seek first the kingdom of God. That word seek is in like the present active tense. It's not like something you just set. It's not a setting and you're good to go. It's this, as you're going through every single moment of that day, you're seeking first his kingdom. In the trials, in the difficulties, in the things that are good, in the celebrations, in those moments when, you have to correct the kids, or in those moments when your spouse has to correct you, right? Like, how do I seek God's first in all of this? For you guys, as you look, Olivia kind of talked about this, like looking ahead. Real estate's not an easy gig. It's a very like self-starter. Like, how are you guys? And I'd be curious to know how you link this to what you've learned through the years, like to up to this point. How are you guys learning to hear God's direction? To know his leading, because that my impression of that industry, like any other industries, it can lead to, sales is oftentimes about presenting yourself and gaining trust, which can lead to being temptations of developing a facade and being someone you're not, all of that kind of stuff. So how are you learning to like be your authentic selves, find the pace that God has for you, and trust him in that process, and particularly in light of the lessons you've learned over the past 20 years. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are some of those building blocks that you're going like, oh man, God taught me that lesson 15 years ago, and this is the application of what that looks like today. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. So the Lord just, in those moments of, right, I have to check myself, because the being very driven, right? Like it feels good to be valued, right? And I think as people, right, we want to have validation, right? Like, man, it feels good to feel valued, right? But I remind myself of it's not about me, right? It's Lord, if I have any, like examine my heart, like David said, right? Examine my heart, Lord, and if there's anything that's unrighteous or not from you, God, please just let it be your will, and don't let it be self-gratifying, but let you get the glory for it. And when I'm doing real estate, or if I am working with a client, I remember that it's Lord, I don't work for man, I work for you. And I didn't always think that way. And at times, right, it feels good to be successful. It feels good to get these because it's provision. It's provision for my family. It's provision for the kingdom. But I can see in business and in real estate, it can be a distraction. So it's so important for me to be disciplined and consistent in the morning with filling my spirit up with the Word of God. And if I miss my routine, I feel off, like I'm not filled up, and I am more susceptible to temptation. I'm more susceptible to just not being metered in my temperature, in my temperament. So I have to, even though I know like the Spirit of God is in me, but also my flesh is still my flesh, right? And so I would say is just reminding myself, and I say this, and when I was in the Amazon going into a new village on this boat for 3 hours, it was scary because I'm in this wooden canoe that's made out of a tree. And there's like, and the water's like right there. And I felt God's presence at the same time. And I was like, Lord, and it was suffering, right? My butt hurt. I guess like it was very uncomfortable. But I was like, Lord, let me become less so you can become more. Right. And that's like, and that's how my mindset is. It's like, Lord, let me become less so you can become more. So that really resonates with me and encourages me to not have any selfish ambition in me. So that, and I'll feel corrected. Like if there's any of that in me, I'll feel corrected, and God will redirect.
You know, it's interesting. Because I think sometimes we just do things, maybe not even with bad motives, but they're bad habits. Do you know what I mean? They're things that in light of the responsibilities maybe the Lord has given us to take on, that these aren't appropriate things to do anymore.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of that.
Oh yeah, feel free.
So there I was.
Right. Intense music building up in the background.
I'm a gum guy. I like to chew gum, right? Because I have nervous energy, and chewing gum kind of helps me get some of that nervous energy out. So there I am going through chaplain school, and I'm down at Paris Island, and I'm chewing on some gum. And gunnery sergeant Monia comes over to me. And he goes, "What's in your mouth?" And I said, "Gum. You want a piece?" And he goes, "I need you to get rid of that right now." And I was like, "Roger that." So I just swallowed it. And
oh my gosh.
You like turned around, like you said it and you walked away, and then you came back and you're like, "What'd you do with the gum? Like, we need to find a trash can." And I was like, "Oh, I swallowed it." And then you had this look of like, "You're such an idiot. Like, what do you, like, throw it away. I didn't expect you to swallow." Anyway, there was that moment, and then there's several moments. And then one was, so, you know, being a pastor all my life, highly, you know, relationship is my game. Like I'm about building trust, building relationship. And I was wrapping up my time at the chaplain schoolhouse, and you would sit down with all of the chaplains and kind of go over our fitness report, like lessons learned, what you observed, kind of a feedback session. And I came into your office and I just sat down, and you went, "No, stand up." So I stand back up and you go, when you come into somebody's office, you do not sit down until you've been given permission to sit down. I was like, okay, like I didn't know these little things. I didn't know these rules. My point in sharing those stories is, one, I have never chewed gum in my uniform outside of my car since then. And two, I've never taken a seat in someone else's office until I've been given permission. And I don't mean that in a legalistic way. I mean that from the vantage point that you taught me that, hey, these things that may have been appropriate in your past are no longer appropriate in this context. Because you are representing, you're a part of something that is bigger than you and different and has its own traditions and it has its own, rituals and its own courtesies and customs. And you need to become mindful of those things. And I think in many regards, when the Spirit, as the Lord leads us, we will find ourselves in those kind of environments. That, man, I have to, who are those people that God is bringing into my life that he's using to teach me these things? And it's so humbling. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's so like, because like I didn't do any of those things out of sort of any malicious intent or desire to be dismissive or disrespectful, but it could be all interpreted as that. And so, having those people that can kind of like, hey, let me kind of, or even God, like, hey, I know your heart's in the right place, but let me kind of walk you through how to make sure that you're mindful of the moment that you're in and how best to serve. Because one of the things years ago I read this, that leadership always takes place in the context of uncertainty. If things are certain, you don't need leadership.
Or you don't seek it out.
Yeah, there's no reason to seek it out, right?
Right.
And I remember thinking after I read, it actually comes from a book by Andy Stanley called Next Generational Leadership, Next Generational Leader. And he says leadership always takes place in the context of uncertainty. So as a leader, your job is to deal with uncertainty. And as I thought about that, I thought, well, wait a minute. If I'm pursuing Christ, if he's leading me, that means he's always going to be leading me into some measure of uncertainty.
Right.
So in some regards, there will always be uncertainty in my life.
Yeah.
The question is it because I've been pursuing Christ or is it because I've been pursuing something else? What I loved, when I saw you 2 years ago in that lobby at the Cove and we had the chats, like my first question was, what happened? How, the Gunny I met in 2015 is not the Gunny I, began to read about on Facebook a year later. And that transition and things. And I just want you to know like how awesome it has been and how proud I am to know someone like you. And I don't, I mean that in all of the kingdom oriented ways I can mean that, to see someone whose desire to see God rule their life, and you do it in a very public and humble way, it's just like you're a gift, man. Your story's a gift. And the things you guys are doing with your kids right now are a gift. And the way you're orienting your life and your businesses and your endeavors and your, clearly kingdom-focused efforts with Ton Tavern and your, ministry in the church. And do you have another mission trip coming up you're looking at doing?
So I just recently, next year, 2024, 2026, I got asked to lead a team in Ecuador next year. So that was just recently happened about 3 weeks ago. The director, Tony Festa, just a powerful man and very instrumental in my faith and encouraging me. He's the one who just really encouraged me to go on mission for the first time. And so 2026, November is what we're looking at to lead a team there.
Man, I love it. Like this is just so cool to see. Your life is just such a brilliant testimony. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah. I just, man, it's because God has placed incredible people in my corner. And I want to, I don't know if we're going to wrap up soon, but Chaplain Kevin Jackson. He's currently active duty, but he's another man that just
Action Jackson.
Action Jackson. That's a good way to put it. Like, just incredible, man. Like, he's in the storm in 2021 when I was going through significant hardship in my relationship and then also in my career. I woke up one night and I just had a distressed dream, nightmare, right? And then I ended up calling him by accident. I don't know how. It was a God thing. And then we just started connecting. And I was like, and then, man, he was just so instrumental in just being the light in the darkness, in the valley. Like, and so him and I established a really great relationship, and just been a champion for me in my faith, and like a father figure to me, for sure. Yeah.
Kevin and I, we went through Chaplain Schoolhouse together.
Yes.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see. It's hard for me. It kind of blends in. Sure. I don't know which class it was.
Listen,
and you say the gum. I totally forgot. I didn't even remember that. I've had many of them.
Oh, listen. I think we were on the front end. We were one of your first classes, I think, in 2015. Would that have been one of your first classes?
Yes. Of course. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, I don't. The fact you even, like, when we were at the Cove and you hollered Milo, like, you remembered my name, like, deeply impressed me, because the Rolodex of people you know is not insignificant. So I was like, dang, am I in trouble? I hope I was memorable for the right reasons.
Yes. Yes.
No, thanks for taking the time to be on the podcast today. I'm really glad we did this. It's like, I think I couldn't have asked for a better way for us to celebrate both the Marine Corps and the Chaplain Corps. Today we really didn't talk about a lot of Marine Corps stuff, but I think
that's okay. That's perfectly fine.
I think there's a
beauty in hearing someone else's testimony, and someone that my dad would have met, that's encouraged him to be the leader that he is. But
and I would say it was a God thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it. Go for it.
It was to see you and Bethany. Bethany is your wife's name, right? Yeah, to see you there. It was just there's more story to that, but that was just a God thing too, right? And that's what, like you said earlier, is why it led to this. And God is all knowing, right? And to see one of my chaplain students there, and the connection we established, the relationship we established there, and to carry on over into the Cove, that is just another, like, these aren't just coincidences. These are divine appointments, divine interventions. So I'm thankful for you and just the opportunity to come here to be part of your guys' podcasts, and I just want the Lord to get the glory, and I hope this encourage. And before I got on here, I prayed, and we prayed together. Right? It's not about we want this to encourage somebody. We want God to get the glory, and for those who don't know Christ, to know that, because it can have a radical change in your life. And so thank you guys.
Okay, we appreciate it. You want to wrap us up?
Yeah, you can share, rate, and review this podcast. Follow us too. I'm a little off. Like, this is beautiful. Like, by doing that will help us get the traction that we need, and that we'd like to have. If this encouraged you, or you think this could encourage someone else, I will be sharing this episode with several of my friends. Follow, like, share them, like, all of,
it's like you've never done this before.
It's almost like we've never done 93 episodes, and I've done this almost every time.
If you want to get a hold of Jonathan, feel free to email us, and then we can pass word to him. Is that okay, Jonathan, if we do that?
Oh, for sure. Okay. Absolutely.
And we, if you want to hear more of his story, I know he's, we'll help you get in touch with him. Just, man, one of the things that we hope you get out of this podcast is that God is always on the move. He's always doing something in people's lives. He's obviously wanting to do something in your life. We pray that you discover what that is, even today, the small things that could take place today, and that you obediently step into that. There's no greater adventure than pursuing Christ. None. The world has, there's that great line, turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of this world will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. So we pray that you guys go with God.
And be at peace.